Good evening, everyone, and a happy new year. Welcome to the thorough newspaper analysis for the 3rd of January 2023. Now, today, for the editorial article which has been taken from the Hindu, we have the article Towards Reducing India's Prison Footprint. Secondly, we have the news update and the legal news for today's rendition. Now, in today's article, which talks about reducing India's prison footprint, we talk about the June 2022 news where the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi directed the Delhi Development Authority to allocate 1.6 lakh square kilometers of land to the Delhi prison for building additional facilities to house inmates. This is because the Delhi prison right now is already congested and they need more additional space to keep criminals or the people who are under trial. So basically, the additional facilities that the Lieutenant Governor has in mind for the Delhi prison will be divided into two parts. One is for the people who are under trial, and the second part of it will be for high risk offenders. Now, the prison that has been made with high walls and like the prison that is being made for the high risk offenders, it is being made with high walls and with offices in each cell. Now, when we think of it in a prison where a person, even if the person is a high risk offender, if they cannot see another prison inmate, it is sort of a solitary confinement. And this has been repeatedly highlighted by famous psychological journals that when we keep a prison inmate in a solitary confinement regularly, it has very hazardous effect on their mental state. Now, it must be kept in mind that such rigorous and often casteist manner of separating prisoners has a very negative effect on the psyche of the prisoners. Now, to make matters worse, prisons in India are still governed by Prisons Act 1894, which is a colonial legislation, and it treats prisoners as subpar citizens. That is, it does not give the entire rights or even a minimum amount of dignity to the people who are there in the prison. Further, there is also the issue of Adivasis and Dalits being overrepresented in Indian prisons. Now, if you have been following thorough newspaper analysis for some time, we were talking of this act which was known as the Habitual Offenders Act. Now, what happens under the Habitual Offenders Act is that if a person is someone who has had some criminal activity, or I would say a repeated number of criminal activities to their name, the police can actually go to their house and arrest them without sufficient proof. This is because they are now being booked under the Habitual Offenders Act. So when we take into consideration legislations like these, Habitual Offenders Act and beggary laws, which are particularly directed at Adivasis and Dalits, because unfortunate as it is, they form the majority of the underprivileged strata. These laws further fuel police to harass these communities for reported crimes. Now, the Lieutenant Governor ought to pay heed to the President's clarion call of imitating non carceral ways to address congestion in prisons instead of building additional facilities. With that, we move on to the news updates for today. We have Brazil's new president. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been sworn in as the new president of Brazil, the third time he has held the country's highest office. The veteran left wing politician, widely known as Lula, also led the country between 2003 and 2010 and defeated Jair Bolsonaro in October's poll. Lula vowed to rebuild the country after thanking the vow of trust given by the Brazilian people during a speech addressing the Congress. Secondly, we have the new EU member. Croatia switched to the shared European currency, the euro, and removed dozens of border checkpoints to join the world's largest passport free travel area. Joining Europe's ID check free Schengen zone means Croats will now be amongst 420 million people who are free to roam its 27 member countries without passports for work or leisure. Adopting the euro will likewise offer Croatia the benefits of stemming from deeper financial ties with with the currency's 19 other users, and also ties with the European Central Bank. Thirdly, we have the enigmatic peat bog. The Flow country contains the most intact and extensive blanket bog system in the world. The expanse of peatland, bogs, pools, lochs, hills, and mountains cover large parts of Caithness and Sutherland in Northern Highlands. It is about 50 miles across, roughly the distance from Glasgow to Edinburgh, and covers almost a million acres of land. The peatlands, which have been growing for over 10,000 years, are formed by layers of waterlogged mosses and other vegetation as they die off. Fourthly, we have new MD and CEO of Indian Overseas Bank. Ajay Kumar Srivastava has been elevated as the Managing Director and CEO of Indian Overseas Bank with effect from January of 1st, 2023, from his current posting as an Executive Director of the Indian Overseas Bank. Srivastava commenced his banking career as a probationary officer, that is the PO, in Allahabad Bank in 1991. After serving over 27 years, he joined Indian Overseas Bank in October 2017. Fifthly, we have Center to launch Digital India Innovations. Now, Minister of State for Electrics and ID Rajiv Chandrasekhar said that the government will launch a Digital India Innovation Fund, which aims to support deep tech startups. The minister revealed this plan of action in an official statement during his official address to over 1,000 college students as part of the New India for Young India Decade of Opportunities program at the Catholic Bishop House campus, Thamarasari, Kerala. Sixthly, we have former Pope Benedict XVI passes away. Former Pope Benedict XVI has died aged 95, almost a decade after he stood down of ailing health. He led the Catholic Church for fewer than 8 years until in 2013 he became the first pope to resign since Gregory XII in 1415. Benedict spent his final years at the Mater Ecclesiae monastery within the walls of the Vatican, where he passed away. Seventhly, we have center rolls out new integrated food safety scheme. Now, under the scheme, the center will provide free food grains to all NFSA beneficiaries, that is the Antodaya Ann Yojana households and priority household, that is the PHH people, for the next 1 year through the widespread network of 5.33 lakh fair price shops across the country. Free food grains will concurrently use uniform implementation of portability under One Nation, One Ration card across the country and will further strengthen the choice-based platform. The central government will bear the food subsidy of more than rupees 2 lakh crore for the year 2023. The new scheme is aimed at bringing uniformity and clarity on food security under NFSA at beneficiary level. Eighthly, we have the Canada and Japan home to world's most educated population in 2022. Canada, Japan, and Luxembourg are the world's top three most educated countries in the world, as per the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or what is better known and in short too as OECD. Now, this report is based on the Tertiary Education Report of 2022. And in this report, sadly, India is way below the average, with only 20.4% of its population possessing tertiary education. For the legal update segment for today, we have additional restrictions not found in Article 19.2 cannot be imposed on right to free speech. The SC Constitution Bench has held that the additional restrictions not found in Article 19.2 cannot be imposed on the exercise of right to free speech under Article 19.1a on ministers, MPs, and MLAs. The previously mentioned restrictions are exhaustive in nature, and this was held in the case of Kaushal Kishore versus State of Uttar Pradesh, Government of UP Home Secretary. Secondly, we have demonetization, not illegal merely because it originated from central government. The SC in its judgment upheld the validity of demonetization and observed that the word recommendation under Section 26, subsection 2 of the Reserve Bank of India Act would mean a consultative process between the Central Board of RBI and the central government. And this was held in the case of Vivek Narayan Sharma versus the Union of India. Now, this was all for today's rendition of the newspaper analysis. For free study materials and the TNA PDF slides, please feel free to join our Telegram channel, the link of which you can find in the description of this YouTube video, or you can always go forward and scan the barcode that is given on your screen. You can also visit us at www.lawseeker.com should you need any further information. Thank you.